Hello, everyone. My name is Simone Steel, and I work for Nationwide Building Society. I'm the current Chief Data Officer, as well as leading the data and analytics practice, which we call communities. I'm here to talk to you today about enterprise agility through the lens of data. And the idea behind this presentation is one of unveiling some aspects of agility through the difficulties of the day-to-day job of a chief data officer. And I'm sure my colleagues working in data and analytics will share some of those aspects, and it will be good to create some stronger partnership with technology colleagues and business colleagues. So I'm really keen to know what you think about this perspective. A little bit about Nationwide. We, as many large organizations, have gone through a lot of mergers and acquisitions over the decades. And we are very open about the fact that legacy weighs us down. And legacy often referred to as technology systems. But there is a different type of legacy. There is a type of legacy that manifests itself around not quite knowing how data is being interpreted, how it has been morphed into different things over the years. And there is the appetite for exploring data. In Nationwide, the appetite for exploring data is mostly related to creating value for our members. We are a mutual business. We don't have shareholders. The business is for our members. And to extract value from it, we need to be much more literate about what we have. So I think literacy describes the need for getting under the hood of who authors data, where is data, how can I find it? If I find a copy, is it faithful to its original? And we call those things usually data controls of quality, timeliness, and more often than not, privacy. And we have clearly the guardianship of data when it comes to completeness. But not all the entire organization, not all of us have the same depth of understanding or even know what our role is in data and in this literacy story. So that's where we are in the quest for better transparency around what data has to offer. But we are very ambitious as well. And at this point in time, we just want to know everything through data, everything about how our members could best utilize the services we offer. How can we offer products that they might not have thought possible or wanted in the past, but through their lifetime, through their life changes, maybe what they want to consider. And also we want to know everything about how we run the business. And we are nowhere near the digital twin of some manufacturers or some logistics companies, but we want to see how we operate through the lens of data. That means how our businesses are performing, how our products are performing, how our controls are operating, how our risks are managed, and so on and so forth. So it's a bit of a dichotomy. We need to accelerate our learning, accelerate the literacy upscaling, as well as leapfrogging, I guess, years of legacy into what can data do for us today. And what does that have to do with enterprise agility? And I put a slide here that is a little bit personal. I don't know if you have seen this footage before, this photo before. It's the confluence of the Solimoens River and the Negro River that forms the Amazon River that most people are familiar with. And this confluence for me feels like walking the boundaries of data discussions in the organization. Some days, myself and my data colleagues join technology discussions because we want new tools, we want the scalability of cloud, we want to influence privacy and security of data. So we are very much part of the technology at the technology table. And some days it's all about our business and the value of data, how we can extract either for our members or our business, as I mentioned, and also about managing risks, unveiling the state of the business, the state of the union, not only for our executive teams, but external parties, such as auditors and regulators, all through the lens of data. So where is it? And why does it impact agility? Those two different paces of discussion, the pace of evolution of technology, architectural decisions, and the pace of here and now, I want data to answer a business question, are very difficult to handle. And dare I say, never really mix, like the waters of the Solimoes and the Negra River. For miles and miles, they eventually mix through those fractal patterns you can see there. And I think that's how data should be permeating both technology and business, through small interactions, through being part, truly part of lean and agile teams that operate at speed. So, having reflected on our identity, I also want to reflect on the financial dynamics of organizations when it also comes to investment. Ultimately, when we make those decisions either on tech or on business, we are making this with a return on investment in mind. And we want to be as persistently funded as most teams that want to deliver at pace. We want to be able to make decisions at pace as well. But this balance sheet that I made up, everyone here that has got an accounting background or even worked in finance will know that it's not a balance sheet. A balance sheet is balanced. A balance sheet is very clear on how the numbers are created on both sides of assets and liabilities. But for data, when we are discussing investment, when we were discussing forming those persistent teams and functions, we are faced with a situation similar to this. Our data balance sheet, it's highly skewed towards our liabilities. We talk a lot about return on investment on the basis of mitigating problems, mitigating flaws. And occasionally, we will be talking about remediating feeds, fixing batches, misinterpreted data that has caused incidents or perhaps caused delays in processing. Plainly wrong outcomes that we often try to tackle from a technology perspective, from our continuous integration and verification of unit regression or integration tests. But also there is some knock-on effect that for Nationwide specifically and for our members can manifest itself in outcomes for our members that we don't want and make them not experience the legendary service that we want to offer. And compounded, on top of all that, our business cases are highly skewed towards regulatory and mandated compliance. You might be familiar with our financial regulations, and BCBS 239 being one where data became, I would say, almost a first-class citizen in investment discussions, so that we can prove complete lineage of numbers that arrive at our balance sheet. We also are very familiar, not necessarily as professionals, but definitely as users, with GDPR and privacy regulations across the world. And those regulatory efforts to achieve a regulatory posture that is both healthy internally and externally creates a bit of a tax on data. So we live on this right-hand side, but we want value and we want agility. And we are happy and usually contented when things mostly work, and we don't see the underlying value of that as clearly. And to promote agility of value delivery from idea to the final customer, or in our case, member, we would need to highlight a little bit more the role of good data practices within our technology delivery, within our process changes. So this is just a little bit of awakening for us in professionals working within the data domains, how to insert ourselves in business cases and in business decisions where value is at the forefront of the discussion. And having reflected on that and on our legacy, so going back to our mergers and acquisitions over the last few decades, our legacy, our relationship with technology and our relationship with business decisions, I'm embarking with my team and with the society on a different strategy for providing business agility. And that is one slightly different from the approaches we have taken historically. The approaches so far have been quite traditional and quite conservative around bringing data together, mostly physically around the same warehouses, and bringing both our master data, in our case our member data, our products, as well as our transactional and all the interactions of our members with the society. And that has proven very difficult to sustain. Very large investments on bringing historic and tribal knowledge into the warehousing space with ETLs, with fresh models, with new taxonomy. And being now a first class citizen at the technology table, I would dare to say that we need to be more adventurous. And that's where we're embarking now nationwide with our data and analytics team. Being more adventurous in leveraging modern techniques and modern technologies for creating a fabric of information flows across the society. And from that fabric, create agility. Knowing, for example, that whenever we inquire about the state of a particular business, or we want to see the holistic picture of one of our members, where does information live? Almost like the Trinity Library image I showed from the Dublin University in first slide. How can I index my information just as clearly and as in a robust way that we can get information quickly without having to go through layers of intermediation? Lakes and data fabric are not new concepts, but I don't think we embraced it sufficiently and nationwide, and that's what I'm trying to move forwards with in this new strategy. So connecting data being more important than the infinite job, I would say almost infinite job of clearing and cleansing layers and layers of historic models. And hopefully with that, being able to respond to those business queries here and now, those business answers that are needed here and now, without having to put all those questions in the back burner of a big technology strategic transformation. So it's all about connections, and connections bringing agility. But we are only at the beginning, and we do feel that there is a daunting task ahead. We feel that some of the obstacles that have been tried have been faced very outwardly, and we may have shied away from those. Large decommissioning efforts, large data volumes to deal with at a fast pace might have been in isolation quite daunting. So we ourselves are taking a very pragmatic and thinking big and starting small approach of not just trying to articulate the entire solution with perfection, but trying to articulate sufficiently so we can take the first steps. We have the direction of travel well mapped, but we only attack each problem as they present themselves in practice. So I'm advocating within a data domain, which is a fairly new concept for us and nationwide, to create the concept of spikes to resolve some of those big questions. And those big questions could be around decommissioning, around choosing technologies that are safer for what we are trying to do, that are more nimble for what we are trying to do, but do that not as a beauty parade of solutions that theoretically we are assessing, but trying and testing and quickly learning from those experiments. So creating the culture of innovation is how we want to make this first few steps in the data and analytics space. Right now, we are up and running, and have been up and running for several years in the data and analytics space with the technology estate that we have. So we've been making the most of it, but we truly think we can make several levels of magnitude better decisions if we embrace the confluence of technology and business with agility. So I'm really keen to see what you reflected upon following this presentation, and also knowing if you have similar or different challenges around the data space and making connections with a lot of you. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope to see you soon.